the evolution of life has been, primitive life, I think, started around 3.5 to 3.8 billion years ago. And what are the important steps in the evolution of life? And obviously there was the advent of single-celled life. There was differentiation to plants and animals. There was life going from the oceans to land. There was mammals, consciousness. And I would argue also on that scale should fit life becoming multiplanetary. And in fact, I think consciousness, it's the next step, actually, because you really kind of need consciousness to design vehicles that can transport life over hundreds of millions of miles of irradiated space to an environment that they did not evolve to exist in. It would be very convenient, of course, if there was another planet just like Earth nearby. But that's unlikely, and as it turns out, not the case. I think if one could make a reasonable argument that something is important enough to fit on the scale of evolution, then it's important, and maybe worth a little bit of our resources. If it's something like 0.25% of the GDP, that would be okay. I think most people would say, okay, that's not too bad.
I think there are really two fundamental paths. History is going to bifurcate along two directions. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. I don't have an immediate doomsday prophecy, but it's eventually, history suggests there will be some doomsday event. The alternative is to become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species, which I hope you would agree that is the right way to go.
So you would start with Mars, build bases on Mars, then use Mars to jump off to all these other planets, set up places there, and over thousands of years easily.
Just kind of like, hop from one solar system to the next, and I think my reasons for being interested in Mars and doing SpaceX are really that they come down to basically just two things. One, which the prior speaker was articulating, which is the defensive reason, in that if we are on more than one planet, the probable lifespan of human civilization and the light of consciousness as we know it is going to be far greater than if we are on one planet. So there's that defensive reason, that life insurance reason, and I think that's obviously a very important thing. Earth's been around for 4 billion years and civilization about 10,000 years. And it's only now that we have this the window has just cracked open where it's possible for life to extend beyond Earth. And so I think it sort of seems sensible to take advantage of that window while it's open. Hopefully it will be open for a long time, but it could be open for a short time. And so we should take action. And that's sort of the defensive reason. It's not actually the reason that gets me most fired up about Mars. The thing that actually gets me the most excited about it is that I just think it's the grandest adventure I could possibly imagine. It's the most exciting thing. I couldn't think of anything more exciting and more fun and more inspiring for the future than to have a base on Mars. And it will be incredibly difficult, and there'll probably lots of people will die, terrible and great things will happen along the way, just as happened in the formation of the United States. But it'll be one of those things that is incredibly inspiring, and we must have inspiring things in the world. Life cannot just be about solving, this problem or that problem. There must be things that, when you wake up in the morning, you're glad to be alive. And that, I think, is, for me, the most important reason why we should pursue the establishment of life on Mars.
It seems like that's imperative. Like that has to happen if the human civilization is going to survive. Because our planet is just, we're too subject to natural disasters and our own folly, and if the species is going to survive, we kind of have to escape.
It's mostly about the species. I mean, there have been some real doozies of massive meteors and
super volcanoes and the continents moved all over the place, and Earth's been a snowball and super hot. If you read like the geological history of Earth, it's like very long and complicated. And then there've been so many extinction events, not like just a few.
Yeah.
I mean, the Permian extinction event, that was a real rough one, where it's like well over 90% of all species died out.
I mean, the long-term aspiration is to develop the technologies necessary to transport a large number of people and cargo to Mars in order to create a self-sustaining civilization there. And that's really why I started the company, was because it seemed as though...
To create the possibility for life on other planets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sort of started off when I was thinking about what to do after PayPal. And I'd always been interested in space, but I didn't think there was anything that an individual could do in space. I mean, it seemed like the province of large governments. But I sort of started looking into it, and I went to the NASA website to find out when we're going to Mars. It seems like, obviously, that is the next thing after the moon. And I couldn't find anything. So I was like, wow, this just seems very strange. Initially, I was under the impression that it was that we'd lost the will to do that. And I later came to the conclusion that I was quite wrong about that. I think the United States in particular is a nation of explorers.
There are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. There's lots of things that are miserable and kind of get you down. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. That's why we did this. It is time to go forth, become a star-faring civilization, be out there among the stars, expand the scope and scale of human consciousness. I find that incredibly exciting. That makes me glad to be alive. I hope you feel the same way.
Musk truly believes that low-cost space exploration is essential to the survival of mankind.
I think it's important that humanity become a multi-planet species. I think most people would agree that a future where we're a spacefaring civilization is inspiring and exciting compared with one where we are forever confined to Earth until some eventual extinction event. That's really why I started SpaceX.